Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're back with another deep dive helping you navigate the world of current affairs and conquer that UPSC exam.
Absolutely. And today we've got a really fascinating mix of topics, everything from agriculture and science and tech
Ooh, exciting.
to geopolitics and economics,
Perfect for that exam prep.
all drawn from the latest news. So let's jump right in.
Sounds good. Let's kick things off with something very relevant to the UPSC syllabus, India's organic sector.
Okay.
There have been a lot of recent developments, especially with the release of the 8th edition of the National Program for Organic Production, the NPOP.
Right. And this really signals that India is serious about becoming a major player on the global organic market.
For our listeners, this could mean potential questions about agriculture, sustainability, and India's role in the global food system.
Absolutely.
So can you give us a little more background on the NPOP?
Yeah, so the MPOP was first launched back in 2001. It basically provides a framework for the growth and regulation of organic farming in India.
Got it. So it makes sure that when something is labeled organic in India, it's meeting those standards.
Exactly. And this new 8th edition goes even further. There are several key updates to make the system more efficient, transparent, and beneficial to farmers.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
What are some of the most significant updates?
Well, one major update is the strengthening of the organic certification process. The MPOP is aligned with international standards now.
That's important for global recognition.
Very much so. And to make things easier, the government has also launched a couple of user-friendly portals,
What kind of portals?
like the NPOP portal, which is basically your one-stop shop for everything organic, and the Organic Promotion portal, which this one's really interesting. It helps connect farmers and exporters directly with potential buyers from around the world.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Like a virtual marketplace just for organic products?
Yeah.
Cuts out the middlemen and empowers farmers to reach a larger audience.
Right. And for UPSC, this highlights the growing importance of technology in agriculture and its role in sustainable development.
Makes sense. Okay, let's switch gears a little and talk about something a bit more technical. Surface-Enhanced Raman Spectroscopy, or SIRS. Even I find the name a bit intimidating, I have to admit.
Yeah, the name is a bit of a mouthful, but don't worry, it's a really cool technique that's revolutionizing the way we study materials at a molecular level.
Okay, so break it down for us. What is SIRS exactly, and why is it getting all this buzz in the scientific world?
SIRS is basically a much more sensitive version of normal Raman spectroscopy. So Raman spectroscopy itself is a powerful technique where you use light scattering to study the vibrations and rotations of molecules within a material.
So it's like creating a unique fingerprint for each molecule using light to reveal its structure and properties.
Exactly. Now SIRS comes in and it amplifies those signals,
Okay.
making them much easier to detect and analyze. Imagine you're turning up the volume on those molecular fingerprints. That's what SIRS does.
I see. So how does it manage to amplify those signals? What's the trick?
Well, the trick is in using nanostructured metallic surfaces. Usually these surfaces are made from gold or silver, and they create what are called hotspots.
Hotspots.
Yeah, and in these hotspots, the electromagnetic fields get amplified, which makes the technique super sensitive.
So it's like we're using these tiny engineered surfaces to boost the signal we get from the molecules.
Exactly. And this increase in sensitivity opens up so many possibilities. SIRS is being used everywhere, from environmental monitoring and medical diagnostics to food safety and even archaeology.
That's a lot of applications. Sounds like SIRS is really a game changer in research.
Oh, it is. And there's more. India has actually been at the forefront with research that has led to a new nanocatalyst that has direct implications for SIRS.
So not only are we using this technique, we're contributing to its development.
Exactly. And this highlights India's role in advancing science and tech.
Okay, now for a topic that's a bit more complex and sensitive. The recent approval for oil and gas exploration in the Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam. Understandably, there's been some debate and concern about the environmental impact.
Yeah, this situation really highlights the challenges we face in trying to balance development with conservation.
For those who might not be familiar with this specific sanctuary, can you tell us why it's so ecologically significant? What makes it so unique?
Hollongapar Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary is quite special. It's the only sanctuary in India named after a gibbon,
Interesting.
and it's home to the densest population of hoolock gibbons in Assam.
Wait, hold on. We have apes in India?
We do. The hoolock gibbon is the only ape found in India. They live in trees, and their calls are so distinct, almost haunting. Creates a really magical atmosphere in the forest.
Wow, I had no idea. What else makes this sanctuary ecologically important?
Well, aside from the gibbons, it's also home to the Bengal slow loris, the only nocturnal primate in India. They're really adorable with their slow movements and big eyes.
Okay, I can already picture them. But back to the exploration approval. What are some of the main concerns being raised?
The biggest concern is the potential impact on the ecosystem. Oil and gas exploration can disrupt wildlife habitats, pollute water, even lead to deforestation.
And in a sanctuary with endangered species, that could be devastating.
Exactly. This is where the National Board for Wildlife, or NBWL, comes in. They're responsible for deciding on these kinds of projects that could affect protected areas.
So in this case, the NDWL has given the go-ahead, despite the concerns.
They have, and it sparked a big debate about whether we're prioritizing short-term economic gains over long-term environmental sustainability.
It's a really complicated issue with no easy solutions. But for our listeners preparing for the UPSC, it's crucial to understand all sides of the argument.
Definitely. The exam isn't about just knowing facts. It's about critical thinking, analyzing these complex issues, and being able to form your own informed opinion.
All right, let's shift our focus to a recent news item that has both geographical and international relations implications.
Yeah.
The arrest of Indian fishermen near Neduntheevu, also known as Delft Island.
Right. This incident brings attention to the island itself, which has a rich history and unique geographical features worth exploring.
So tell us, where exactly is this island located, and why does it have two names?
Neduntheevu, or Delft Island, is the largest of the 7 islands in the Palk Strait.
Okay.
It's located off the northern coast of Sri Lanka.
Okay.
The name Delft comes from the Dutch colonial period.
Oh, I see.
They had a presence there and even built a fort entirely out of coral chunks.
A coral fort. Wow. That's fascinating. Tell us more about the people who live on the island now.
The island has about 4,800 inhabitants, primarily Tamil speakers. So their demographic and linguistic dominance is a key point for UPSC questions related to cultural geography in South Asia.
It's a good reminder that even events like this can connect to broader themes relevant to the UPSC exam. Okay, let's change gears and talk about a topic that might seem a bit dry, but is super relevant for anyone aspiring to be a bureaucrat. The Universal Account Number, or UAN.
Yes, the UAN. This is like Financial Literacy 101 for any UPSC aspirant.
For sure. So tell us, what is a UAN? Why is it so important?
The UAN is a 12-digit number assigned by the Employees Provident Fund Organization, or EPFO, to every employee who contributes to the Employee Provident Fund.
Okay, so it's a unique identifier for everyone in the EPF scheme.
Exactly. It's like a social security number specifically for your employment history in India. It's designed to make managing your EPF account easier and to make it portable across different jobs.
So even if someone changes jobs multiple times throughout their career, their UAN stays the same, keeping all their EPF contributions together.
Precisely. It simplifies things like tracking your contributions, transferring funds, and accessing benefits when you retire.
That makes a lot of sense, like a centralized system for your retirement savings, regardless of your job changes.
Exactly. And as future bureaucrats, you'll need to be familiar with these systems because they impact millions of Indians.
All right, let's move on to another headline-grabbing topic, the Neptune missile.
Okay.
This missile, developed in Ukraine, has been in the spotlight due to its use in the ongoing conflict. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. The Neptune is a subsonic cruise missile primarily intended for anti-ship warfare. However, it's been adapted for land attacks, too.
When we say subsonic, we mean it travels slower than the speed of sound.
Correct. But subsonic missiles have their advantages. They are more maneuverable, can fly lower, and are harder for radar to detect.
So it's a different kind of threat, relying more on stealth and accuracy than just speed.
Exactly. And the Neptune has shown its effectiveness recently.
What about its range and what kind of targets can it hit?
It has a range of up to 400 kilometers and a pretty powerful warhead, making it effective against ships and land-based targets.
That's impressive. How does it achieve such accuracy? What kind of guidance system does it use?
It uses both satellite guidance and an infrared homing system.
Interesting.
So it navigates using satellite data, and then as it gets closer to the target, it switches to the infrared seeker, which locks onto the target's heat signature.
Wow, that sounds very sophisticated. So does India have any similar cruise missiles in its arsenal?
We do. India has been developing its missile technology rapidly and has a range of both supersonic and subsonic cruise missiles.
Okay.
For instance, we have the BrahMos, which we developed jointly with Russia. It's one of the fastest supersonic cruise missiles in the world.
Really? How fast are we talking?
It can reach speeds of up to Mach 3.
Wow, that's incredibly fast. And what about subsonic missiles?
We have the Nurbe, a long-range subsonic missile known for being very stealthy. It flies very low, making it very difficult to detect.
It's amazing how India is advancing in missile technology.
It is, and for UPSC aspirants, understanding these different types of missiles, their capabilities, and their strategic significance is crucial.
All right, before we move on, a quick reminder to like this episode and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our daily deep dives into UPSC current affairs.
Absolutely. And we'll be back with even more insights in just a bit. Welcome back, everyone. We've got lots more to unpack in our deep dive into current affairs.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our daily deep dives into all things UPSC. Now let's circle back to a topic we mentioned earlier, the remission of duties and taxes on exported products scheme, or RoDTEP.
Yeah, RoDTEP. It's been in the news with industry groups calling for an extension, and it's often overlooked, but really important for understanding India's economic policies and trade.
Right, so for anyone who needs a refresher, remind us, what exactly is RoDTEP? Why is it so important?
Well, it's designed to refund exporters for the taxes they pay on inputs used in making exported goods to make Indian goods more competitive globally.
So making sure that Indian exporters aren't disadvantaged compared to their global competitors.
Exactly. It helps create a level playing field. And it covers so many sectors, from textiles and agriculture to electronics and pharmaceuticals.
Sounds comprehensive.
Yeah.
But how does it actually work? Do exporters just get cash back?
Not cash, no. They get these electronic credit vouchers called e-scripts.
E-scripts.
Yeah, and those can be used to offset certain import duties.
So it's like a special currency for exporters,
Yeah.
giving them more flexibility and lowering their overall costs.
Right. And this is really interesting, especially for the UPSC folks. RoDTEP replaced a previous export incentive called the Merchandise Exports from India Scheme, or MICE.
Why the switch?
Yeah.
Was there a problem with MICE?
Well, MICE had some issues with the World Trade Organization, the WTO. It didn't quite align with global trade rules.
Ah, I see.
Some countries saw it as an unfair subsidy because MICE gave benefits based on the value of exports, not on actual taxes paid.
So it distorted international trade and led to complaints.
Yeah, so RoDTEP came in to fix that. It's WTO compliant, but still supports Indian exporters.
So a strategic move to comply with global rules while still promoting our economic interests. Perfect for UPSC prep. Now, let's move on to something that connects geography, ecology, and conservation, Neduntheevu National Park.
Okay.
It's been in the news because of an incident with security forces, but I'd love to know more about the park itself.
Well, Neduntheevu National Park is located in Chhattisgarh's Bijapur district.
Got it.
It's a real testament to India's biodiversity. Established in 1981, declared a tiger reserve in 1983.
What makes it stand out from all the other national parks and tiger reserves in India?
It's one of the few places where you can still find the rare wild buffalo.
Wild buffalo. Amazing. I didn't realize they were so rare. What other wildlife is there?
Oh, it's wildlife lovers' paradise. Besides the wild buffalo, you've got tigers, leopards, sloth bears, all kinds of deer, and so many birds. Plus, it's got the Indravati River running along its northern border.
So the river creates a whole ecosystem supporting even more species.
Absolutely. And the park's topography is really diverse, too. Hills, forests, grasslands, it's got it all.
It's amazing how these geographical features affect biodiversity.
Right. And for UPSC, understanding that connection between geography, ecology, and conservation is really important.
Now let's get back to those striking images of pink fire retardant being dropped on wildfires. We talked about their effectiveness, but what about the environmental concerns?
Right. So fire retardants are great at stopping fires and saving lives and property.
Yeah.
But some of the chemicals used, especially in the pink kind, have raised concerns about potential long-term effects.
A classic dilemma. A solution with immediate benefits, but possible unintended consequences down the line.
Exactly. This is something UPSC loves to test. It's all about those complex environmental issues, the pros, the cons, and the long-term impacts.
So what exactly are people concerned about with these retardants? What kind of damage could they cause?
Well, some fire retardants contain heavy metals like chromium and cadmium,
Okay.
and those are toxic to both people and animals. They can also build up in the environment, contaminating soil and water over time.
So they might be helpful now, but could be creating a toxic problem for the future.
That's the worry, and that's why researchers are working on developing more eco-friendly options.
It's a reminder that even the best intentions can have unintended consequences.
Absolutely. And it highlights the constant need to find better, more sustainable solutions to these challenges.
Okay, let's switch to something more optimistic. India's economic outlook. The UN's World Economic Situation and Prospects 2025 report came out, and I'm curious about their assessment of India's economy.
Well, the report is quite positive. They're projecting robust growth for India.
That's good to hear. What are they saying about our projected growth rates?
They're projecting 6.6% growth in 2025 and an even better 6.7% in 2026.
Wow, those are some strong numbers. What's driving this optimism?
A few things, actually. They mentioned increased government spending on infrastructure, which will boost different sectors. And we're also seeing growth in manufacturing and services.
So is both government initiatives and private sector growth working together?
Exactly. And we can't forget about export growth in sectors like pharmaceuticals and electronics.
Right. It's really encouraging news, especially with all the global economic uncertainty. Now, the report also mentioned something about India's potential in the critical minerals sector, didn't it?
It did. They highlighted India's opportunity to take advantage of the growing global demand for critical minerals.
Things like lithium for batteries and
Yeah.
rare earth elements for electronics.
Yes, exactly. Those are essential for a lot of modern technologies, particularly renewable energy.
And as those technologies become more popular, the demand for those minerals will only go up.
Right. And India has significant reserves of several of these minerals. With the right policies and investments, we could become a key player in the global supply chain.
That makes a lot of sense. What kind of challenges might India face in doing this?
Well, one major challenge is ensuring we do this sustainably. We can't afford to repeat the mistakes of the past where mining caused environmental damage and social problems.
So it's not just about extracting these minerals. It's about doing it responsibly and in a way that benefits communities.
Precisely. It all comes back to that concept of sustainable development, a key theme for the UPSC syllabus. Now, let's talk about a scheme that's been in the news because of industry, calls for its extension,
Yeah.
the RoDTEP scheme.
Yes, RoDTEP.
This one is essential knowledge for anyone tackling economics and international trade for the UPSC. RoDTEP, the Remission of Duties and Taxes on Exported Products scheme, came in 2021 to replace that old MI scheme we talked about earlier.
The one that didn't quite work with WTO rules.
Exactly. So RoDTEP is all about boosting exports and making sure Indian products can compete globally. And it does this by reimbursing exporters for certain taxes they paid during the manufacturing process.
Right, so it levels the playing field by taking care of those extra costs.
Exactly. It's designed to be completely WTO compliant, ensuring that India follows those international trade rules. And it covers a wide range of export sectors, everything from textiles and pharmaceuticals to engineering and agriculture.
Okay, so for our listeners studying for the UPSC, what are the most important things to remember about RoDTEP?
Remember, it's all about boosting those exports, making Indian products competitive globally, and critically, it's designed to be WTO compliant.
Got it. Now let's finish up with Indravati National Park in Chhattisgarh.
Yeah, we talked about the incident that brought it into the news, but it's important to understand its importance as an ecological treasure.
Absolutely. Can you remind everyone why Indravati National Park is so special and why we need to protect it?
So, Indravati National Park was established in 1981 and became a tiger reserve in '83. It's got incredible biodiversity and takes its name from the Indravati River, which flows along its northern border.
What's so special about the wildlife there?
Well, it's one of the last places where you can find the rare wild buffalo, and it's also home to tigers, leopards, sloth bears, and different kinds of deer.
It sounds like an amazing ecosystem. But like so many protected areas, it's facing challenges, isn't it?
It is. The recent incident highlights the issues of human-wildlife conflict, encroachment, and the need for effective conservation strategies.
All important topics for the UPSC. Now let's move to the world of science and technology. Specifically, a technique called Surface-Enhanced Raman Spectroscopy, or SIRS.
SIRS, it's
Yeah.
a mouthful, right? But it's a great example of how science is developing tools to help us study the world around us in more detail. SIRS essentially makes traditional Raman spectroscopy much more sensitive, allowing scientists to study materials at the molecular level.
So before we get into SIRS, can you explain what Raman spectroscopy is?
Sure, Raman spectroscopy is a technique that uses scattered light to look at how molecules vibrate and rotate within a material. It's like using light to create a fingerprint for each molecule, telling us about its structure and properties.
So it's a way to identify and analyze materials on a very fundamental level.
Exactly. And SIRS comes in and amplifies those signals we get from Raman spectroscopy. It's like turning up the volume on those molecular fingerprints, making them much easier to detect and analyze.
How does it do that? What's the secret to making it more sensitive?
The key is using these special surfaces made from tiny nanostructured metals, usually gold or silver. These surfaces create what are called hotspots.
Hotspots.
Yeah, and in these hotspots, the electromagnetic fields are much stronger, which boosts the sensitivity of the whole technique.
So it's like we're using tiny engineered surfaces to amplify the signal we get from those molecules.
Precisely. And that increased sensitivity has opened up so many possibilities. SIRS is now used in environmental monitoring, medical diagnostics, food safety, and even archaeology.
It's incredible to see how cutting-edge science like this is being used in so many different fields.
Absolutely. And India is actively contributing to this field, with research leading to a new nanocatalyst that has big implications for SIRS research.
But not only are we using this technology, we're helping to improve it too.
Exactly. And it shows how India is becoming more and more influential in science and technology. Now, let's shift our focus to a topic that's been making headlines in international relations and military affairs: the Neptune missile.
Ah, yes, the Neptune. It's been in the news because of its role in the ongoing conflict.
Right. The Neptune is a subsonic cruise missile originally designed to target ships, but it's shown it can be effective against land targets as well.
So when we say subsonic, does that just mean it's slower than supersonic missiles?
Yeah, it's slower than the speed of sound, but subsonic missiles have their strengths. They can be more maneuverable, fly at lower altitudes, and can be harder to detect on radar.
So it's a different kind of threat, relying more on stealth and precision.
Exactly. And it's clearly been effective in recent engagements.
What about its range and what sort of targets can it hit?
It has a range of up to 400 kilometers and a powerful warhead, making it capable of hitting both ships and land-based targets.
That's pretty impressive. How does it manage to be so accurate? What kind of guidance system does it use?
It uses a combination of satellite guidance and infrared homing.
Okay.
So it uses satellite data for navigation. And then as it gets closer to the target, it switches over to its infrared seeker. That system locks on to the target's heat signature, allowing for very precise targeting.
That sounds incredibly sophisticated. Does India have any similar cruise missiles in its arsenal?
We do. India has been developing its own missile technology and has a range of both supersonic and subsonic cruise missiles.
Okay.
A good example is the BrahMos, which was developed jointly with Russia. It's one of the fastest supersonic cruise missiles in the world.
Wow. How fast can it go?
It can reach speeds of up to Mach 3.
That's unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
What about subsonic missiles?
On the subsonic side, we have the Nube, a long-range missile known for its stealth capabilities. It flies very low, making it incredibly hard to detect.
It's amazing to see how India is advancing in this field.
It is. And for those preparing for the UPSC, understanding these different types of missiles, their capabilities, and what they mean strategically is very important. It's about understanding India's defense capabilities and its role in global security.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, everyone. We're ready to wrap up our exploration of the most important current affairs for January 14th, 2025.
We've covered a lot of ground, from organic farming to missile technology. I hope our listeners are feeling ready for anything the UPSC might throw at them.
Absolutely. We've still got a few key topics left to discuss, so let's jump back in. I want to pick up on that UN report we mentioned, the World Economic Situation and Prospects 2025 report. It highlighted India's potential in the critical minerals sector. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Critical minerals are basically essential for all sorts of industries, especially those that are driving the shift to renewable energy and those developing new technologies.
The things like lithium for batteries and rare earth elements for electronics.
Exactly. And as the demand for those technologies goes up globally, so will the demand for those critical minerals. The UN report suggests India is in a great position to benefit from this.
We have significant reserves of these minerals, right?
We do. With the right policies and investments, we could become a major supplier in the global market.
That makes sense. But are there any challenges India might face in realizing this potential?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is making sure we extract these minerals responsibly and sustainably. We can't make the same mistakes as in the past, where mining often came at a huge cost to the environment and local communities.
It's about finding that balance between economic growth and environmental protection.
Precisely. And this is a perfect example of the concept of sustainable development, something the UPSC loves to ask about.
Okay, let's shift gears again and talk about the RoDTEP scheme. We mentioned it before, but industry groups are calling for its extension.
Right, and this scheme is a must-know for anyone preparing for the economics and international trade parts of the UPSC. The RoDTEP scheme, which stands for the Remission of Duties and Taxes on Exported Products, was put in place in 2021. It replaced that older scheme, MAS.
The one that had those WTO compliance issues.
Exactly. So RoDTEP is all about boosting India's exports by making our products more competitive globally.
How does it do that?
Essentially, it refunds exporters for the taxes they pay on the materials they use to make those exported goods. It levels the playing field so Indian products aren't at a disadvantage because of those taxes.
So it focuses on actual taxes paid, making it much more transparent and WTO compliant.
Exactly. And it covers a wide range of sectors, from textiles and pharmaceuticals to engineering and agriculture.
Okay, so for our UPSC enthusiasts out there, what are the key things to remember about RoDTEP?
It's all about boosting exports, making those Indian products competitive on the world stage, and ensuring everything is done in a way that complies with WTO rules.
Got it. Now for our final stop. Let's head back to Chhattisgarh and Indravati National Park.
We talked about the incident that brought it into the news, but let's not forget how important it is as an ecological treasure.
It's a truly unique place. Remind us why it's so special and why protecting it is so important.
Indravati National Park is established back in 1981 and became a tiger reserve just a couple of years later. It's named after the Indravati River, which forms its northern border and continues all the way to Odisha. It's home to an incredible variety of plants and animals.
What makes its wildlife so unique?
Well, it's one of the few remaining places where you can find the rare wild buffalo. It's also a haven for tigers, leopards, sloth bears, and a variety of deer species.
It's incredible how many different species are found there.
It really highlights the importance of protecting these natural spaces.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the key current affairs of January 14th, 2025.
We've explored a lot, but this is just the beginning. The world of current affairs is constantly evolving.
Staying informed, continuing to learn, and making connections between these events are all vital for success on the UPSC exam.
And don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our daily deep dives into UPSC current affairs.
We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, guiding you through the complexities of current events and equipping you with the knowledge you need to ace that UPSC exam.
Until then, keep those minds sharp and never stop exploring the world around you.